Hello，又翻到嚟新地球事務所啦。咁今日除咗嘉賓之外啦，我哋仲有位好特別嘅嘉賓嘅。咁啊，大家見到麻利嘅 screen，咁啊有一團好得意嘅薯仔嘅顏色，就因為薯仔喺度啦，係啦。咁啊，今日
係啦，
薯仔會
薯仔有份
陪我哋。
參與，因為我都好想帶佢去見下阿 Brett，有一啲即係動物都有需要 de-stress 咁樣。咁今日我哋嘅嘉賓咧就係成日我哋都提起佢嘅喺個節目
係
度，就係肌應治療師啦。因為本身佢都幫助咗我哋好多，有好多我哋自己察覺唔到，同埋都唔知點處理啦。咁就通常會揾阿 Brett 去見一見啦，做一個叫做 Kinesiology 嘅嘢去。即係重整一下我哋嘅身體狀況。咁首先，Welcome Brett。
Hello.
welcome。So Maria was just explaining to the audience how you have helped both of us in many occasions to solve the unsolvable. So this is why we have you with us today, to shed a little light on, what is kinesiology. And at the same time, we would like you to talk about stress. I think people are pretty stressful at the moment, like out there. We see a lot of people, getting really emotional, they're very low in energy. A lot of people saying that they are very tired or easily triggered. So I think a lot of people are stressed but not aware. So this is what the topic that we would like to invite you to help us to expand, help us to aware a little bit more today.
Okay,
Mm.
yeah, I can do that. Stress is in many, many different forms, for us as humans. Like, I think people generally start to know now that the actual air we're breathing is stressful, but it keeps us alive. So living in a big city, there's all types of pollution that your body needs to deal with, and that is a stress.
呢個我諗我哋都講少少，因為可能我哋即係人對壓力 stress 呢啲理解就係佢哋可以來自好多唔同嘅方向，有好多唔同方式呈現啦。咁頭先阿 Brett 講咗一個其實完全唔係 aware 呢一樣嘢，即係譬如佢話空氣可以係 stressful，即係呼吸可以對我哋嚟講係 stressful，因為住喺大城市入邊。即係周遭咁多嘅污染物，其實對我哋個身體嚟講，佢身體要處理嘅就係來自呢一啲嘅壓力咯。咁呢個就真係成日講工作壓力、情緒壓力，唔知咩事情係金錢，所有嘢都係壓力。但我哋冇諗過，本身係一個即係 physical 物理嘅世界入邊，已經有一啲物理上嘅嘢，真係會構成即係身體要處理嘅壓力嘅。
So, Brett, you said stress is in many forms, like air pollution can be one thing. So how do people know that they are stressed?
A lot of times they don't. The body, in a way, is quite resilient, so we can have lots of different stresses all happening at the same time. And our body tries to cope with them as best that it can. Yeah, and most people's awareness of stress is generally the emotional, mental stress of, dealing with, work stresses, deadlines, bosses, etc. And that's what they perceive as their only stresses.
頭先阿 Eve 就問啦，即係究竟我哋點樣發現咩叫做壓力啦？因為可能對好多人嚟講，有啲明顯嘅東西會係壓力嘅，就情緒壓力，例如來自返工覺得好辛苦啊，份工OT 好辛苦啊，個 boss 好變態啊咁，然後即係呢一啲嘢或者追 deadline 咁樣追數呢啲，我哋好明顯見到佢係壓力來源嘅。咁但係由於個身體實在太犀利啦，即係佢會幫你監操嚟嘅，即係佢監操幫你去處理你嘅壓力，所以好多時候有大部分嘅壓力我哋係唔察覺，而其實我係其中一個唔知道自己 stressful 嘅人嚟嘅，即係我近年先比較有呢種諗法，但我以前係完全唔知嘅。I'm talking about first of all, I was translating what you have just shared, and then I am one of the people that I do not notice stress. I thought everything is okay. I'm just fixing things. I'm just solving problems, and I do not notice that I have been stressful. So until my body tells me that I feel tense, maybe I have stomachache, headache, and all those little illness, then I start to realize that, oh, this is from stress. 我講少少，即係我都係一個去到身體出現問題，頭痛、胃痛、周身唔痛，先知原來我有壓力咩？我以為我搞得掂我眼前嘅嘢就叫做 搞得掂㗎咯，搞得掂都有壓力咁。原來係完全唔關事。So stress is not about whether or not you can solve the problem, you can fix the things. Stress is just like, it's just there, causing you to think about, worry about things.
Yeah, it's saying when we don't resolve our stresses, then they become a problem. Like just, me talking now, I have a degree of stress because I'm not sure what questions you're going to ask me. So I feel this little bit of sort of nervousness there. But as I start to talk, then that goes. Right? And so it's just an unconscious part of, are you prepared? Are you prepared? So even though I know, like, logically, I know all this stuff, all this, but my emotional part still says, oh, worry a little bit. So that does become a little bit of stress, but as I talk, it resolves itself.
咁呢一個狀態就係比較會自然地可以 flow 嘅 stress，因為阿 Brett 就話即係好似今日咁樣啦，要見面啦，要講嘢啦，咁你叫佢做可能做個案，佢都覺得啊我熟悉嘅，咁但係譬如要講嘢，佢就唔知我哋會問乜，佢唔知要講啲乜先好，咁所以要係開始咗，佢開始講嘢，佢先覺得呢一個嘅對佢嚟講構成嘅少少緊張感、少少壓力，先能夠解決，就係 through 開始咗啦，咁佢知道要點做啦，咁就唔需要再擔心我係咪有足夠嘅準備，咁於是呢個 stress 就會解決啦。So can we say that some stress will be resolved like naturally? Like now you start to talk is resolved, and then some will not be resolved because we do not know they're there.
Yeah, like if I was the sort of person that would then take the stresses that I'm dealing with now, and after we finish talking, I keep running them around in my mind. And did I say the right thing? Did I do the right thing? Did I look okay? Well, then I didn't resolve anything, and I keep creating stress in my mind, which then my body reacts to every thought that I'm having.
哇！呢一個好得意 because it's very precise, and then I think many people suffer from this and they do not notice, so I have to explain further. 咁啊 Brett 就話啦，冇錯，開始講嘢，咁佢發現其實我講到啦，我解釋到啦，我答到你問題啦，咁我個壓力就被解決了，自然地。但我就問，咁有冇啲壓力係不會自然地被解決，而因為我哋唔知其實佢係壓力。咁佢就話，如果假設喺佢呢個狀況，佢講緊嘢啦，咁到收線之後，佢就會覺得我頭先有冇講錯嘢，有冇講得唔好，我好唔好睇啦，我個空間得唔得啊？我表現得好唔好啊？咁然後呢啲嘢不停喺個腦度重複喺度諗，喺度掙扎咧，佢就會構成一個唔解決嘅壓力，而即係作死咯。我哋其實平時大部分時間都係呢一隻嘅喎。Actually, most of the time we suffer from this type of stress.
Yes, it's very, very human stress, that one.
So what happens, if someone has this kind of, mental stress for very long term, from your experience in doing many sessions?
Over long term, the body has to react to it because the subconscious mind doesn't know the difference between if something's happening or if we're just thinking about it. So it always reacts to whatever we're focusing on.
哇，好啱啱佢講完，跟住我又好震驚啦。咁我啱啱問阿 Brett 啦，因為其實大部分香港人咧都諗好多嘢嘅。發咗生咗嘅又諗一堆啦，未發生諗一堆，呢個係個 mind 嘅 nature， 好容易擔心好多嘢。跟住我就問阿 Brett 啊，咁你份佢咁多年嘅經驗，佢去做諮詢啊，去做療程啊，即係去幫咁多客人嘅時間啊，佢會見到呢啲 long term stress 一啲長期嘅壓力點樣影響我哋咧？佢話，當我哋長期有壓力咧，我哋個身體係會俾反應㗎。佢因為我哋個潛意識好單純嘅咋，佢唔會分得清究竟呢一刻係真係有嘢發生啊，我係真係有隻獅子追埋嚟啊，定係我哋喺個腦度係咁諗，哇有獅子追埋嚟啊，我要驚定先，我要驚定先。我哋嘅潛意識同個身體係唔識分㗎，咁所以即係話就算冇獅子追埋嚟，我哋裡面都已經準備緊，哇我要逃跑啊，因為我好驚啊。Wow, okay.
Yeah, this is a very like shocking truth that we now understand subconscious mind doesn't differentiate between things that is really happening or we're just thinking and imagining about it. So I feel like in dreams, when we sleep in dreams, we are being chased by zombie, then our body reacts to the same level as if we're being chased by zombie because our heart will start pumping, and then maybe we will be so scared that we wake up from the dream. So the body reaction just react to whatever things are in our mind.
Yeah, exactly. It's important that our subconscious does react because it helps keep us alive. So if it's not reacting, then we can have a problem. If we see a tiger and we don't react, we're going to be lunch.
我頭先就係問阿 Brad，我話咁同瞓覺一樣喎，即係夢入邊俾喪屍追，個人會驚到係咁心跳，直到你可能嚇醒咗。咁你夢係你覺得係冇現實發生，唔係俾喪屍追噶嘛？但係你個身體反應係就等同於你真係俾喪屍追咁驚，而你會嚇醒喎。咁所以阿 Brad 就話冇錯，因為潛意識係唔會咁樣分辨。咁所以你諗嘅嘢或者你 focus 你集中嘅嘢，佢基本上就係讓你身體感受，就有如佢係真實一樣。咁我又有嘢想問啦，因為我曾經認識一個人啦，佢就話如果佢個 logical mind 咧係諗得通一個答案，即係我當譬如佢反省啊頭先個訪問做得好唔好，我有冇講錯嘢？如果佢諗得通一樣嘢係安慰到佢自己，佢覺得佢會解決佢個壓力，但我就覺得呢個唔係真實嘅答案嘅。咁我又試問下阿 Brad 呢樣嘢先。
Sure.
So once I have a friend telling me that because she is a very logical thinking person, so when there's stress,for example, it's like doing an interview. Did I do well or did I do something not appropriate? And then I feel guilty or I feel bad. For her, she said, if she finds a reason or an answer to answer her logical mind, then she will resolve the stress. But I do not really agree that part of it. But I do not know what is the real answer to this question. What do you think?
I think it's going to be very individual. Because even when you're very rational, you still have feelings, but you may not be that aware of your feelings. So when you are very rational, you can overthink things. So if you have a feeling, you may find yourself overthinking the feeling. And then that overthinking then creates the stress.
咁啱啱阿 Brad 就話啦，即係對應翻麻利嗰個朋友嗰個狀態啦，即係佢就可以自己解決自己嘅問題嘅，即係佢個腦可以透過邏輯嘅思考，佢可以 put 個 mind to rest 嘅。跟住阿 Brad 就好快去 point out 咗就係咁，但係我哋人咧，我哋係有情感噶嘛，但係好多時一個人個邏輯好強啦，嘅朋友仔多數咧，佢連結自己嘅情感咧，佢哋個連係未必係好直接啦，有啲朋友可能唔覺察佢嗰刻經歷緊啲乜嘢嘅感覺啦。咁所以分咗兩部分，感覺嗰個部分，如果嗰個人唔係好覺察嘅，其實未必知道啊嗰個唔舒服嘅感覺，其實一路都有延伸緊咯。Wow, so there are many layers when it comes to stress.
Oh yeah, we can stress ourselves in many ways. Like say for example, if you're going to go for a night out somewhere.
Okay.
And you get dressed up and it's like, oh, my bum looks fat in these pants. Right? Now you've created fear. And now everywhere you go, you're worrying, does my bum look fat in these pants? So instead of being able to go out and just enjoy the night, you're now in fear all night, worrying, what's people thinking about my bum? It's probably not happening. Your bum probably looks great. But in your mind, you've told yourself that. And so you've then created a story in your mind that makes you anxious all night.
Then how do you help this person, like this particular case,
like this? It's around getting them to be aware of the thoughts that they're doing, getting them to become more aware of, you can actually lie to yourself. A lot of things we say to ourselves are not true. We just believe them. And so by becoming aware of the different thoughts and different stresses, with the kinesiology, we sort of bring them up and de-stress them in the energy field. But also that person has the awareness that they go away with of, I've been doing this and I didn't realize I was. Because we just run these programs. And until somebody points us out to us, we just keep doing it.
啱啱啊 Brad 就用嗰個好得意嘅 example，咁啊我邀請大家都睇下自己平日生活啦，有冇其實咁樣做到啦？但係我又覺得都幾 common 嘅呢樣嘢。咁佢話壓力其實真係好多好多嘅模式嘅。佢攞咗個 example，咁例如可能出去食餐飯咁啊，或者出去玩，咁明明已經着到好靚嘅，但係唔知突然間照照下鏡又覺得哇，我着咗呢條褲，我入邊好似好肥咁喎。跟住佢話 the moment 我哋諗呢咁樣諗咧，其實就已經去創造咗個恐懼出嚟啦，因為我哋會去擔心啊，人哋成晚去見到我嘅時間會去諗啲乜嘢啊？佢就話 instead of 我哋出去應該係 enjoy 啊，可能同朋友去玩，應該我好開心嘅，我哋就會成晚都好擔心咯。其實係我哋個頭腦創造咗個故仔，我哋又信咗喎。跟住就令到我哋自己好大壓力咯，所以大家都可以諗下啊，平日你自己喺生活入邊啦，會唔會有啲咁嘅古仔啦？你自己諗咗出嚟啦，跟住嗰個古仔就纏繞咗你一晚咯，或者纏繞咗你一個月，甚至一年咯。跟住啱啱埋你就問佢究竟有啲咩幫到啦？咁啊，下一 part 你想我嚟定？
因為我就係覺得諗咧，叫人唔好亂諗啦，或者你諗多咗啦，其實冇幫助嘅。咁所以我就問點解決呢個狀況？咁啊 Brett 就話，如果係呢個 case 嘅話，咁首先第一樣嘢就係要將個覺知擺到去，有好多嘢我哋覺得係咁，但係佢不等於係真實。咁但係由於我哋信，咁所以佢就變咗真啦。咁所以佢會將個覺知擺喺我哋睇到我哋諗嘢嘅方法，或者睇到我哋諗嘢嘅傾向。咁即係某程度上，可能自己擺到上台見到係咁諗，都覺得有多少荒謬啦。即係我會咁諗啦。咁尤其是如果自己覺得都荒謬喎，咁可能就係我會停止再亂諗嘅其中一個方法咯。
同埋阿 Brett 啱啱有講嘅就係話，其實佢話人咧好中意同自己講一啲唔係真實嘅
大話，
成日同自己講大話，就同自己講好多唔係真嘅嘢啦，但係自己又要信喎。即係啱啱以嗰個，哎呀，我其實我着咗條褲係咪好肥嗰個例子啦，好多女性都應該有經歷過呢啲階段嘅。但係當我哋不停喺度 run 緊同一個故仔嘅時間，其實呢個故仔亦都會令到我哋好大壓力嘅。So basically we just explain to the audience what you just said, and we both felt that it's a very good example because I think a lot of people go through making up stories from a judgment, from perception of ourselves, of what's going on out there, and then we believed it afterwards because we tell ourselves so many times.
Yeah, and that becomes a challenge because we try to work everything out on a logic, rational way. And unless you have every single piece of information you need, then logic doesn't make sense because it uses the bits of information that it has. So if it doesn't have all the bits, it comes up with an answer based on what it has. And that becomes a problem because you're missing bits of the equation. So you now make a judgment with half the things missing that you need to make a judgment.
呢個我哋係啊，平時我哋好多嘢又唔係真係擁有晒所有嘅資訊，即係我哋唔係100% 擁有完整資訊，但係我哋又覺得我哋揸住呢樣嗰樣，我哋就可以做一個 judgment， 有一個判斷，有一個諗法。但係個諗法其實又唔係 based on 所有嘅真實嘅資訊嘅時候，咁所以基本上就係我哋話咯，即係我覺得係咁，同埋我認為係咁就係咁。咁但係呢啲我哋認為我哋覺得係咁，就係我哋構成又冇完整資訊，但係又要落 judgment， 咁到最後就係即係好似自己搞着自己咁樣嘅狀況。
Yeah. So moving on, Brad, I would like to ask, what stress actually do to our lives? So, people talk about stress a lot. Yeah, I feel stressful. Yeah, my boss bossed me around. Yeah, I finish up late at work. They feel the stress, but I don't think a lot of people actually understand the extensive impact of what stress do to the many areas of our health, of our well-being, and our emotions and our lives. Can you, from your experience, illustrate a little bit more with us?
Yeah, so if you look at, say, a few of the different types of stresses, like we can have lifestyle stresses, by the foods that we eat, the things we drink, the activities we do can sometimes be stressful. And we have the normal, work stresses, relationship stresses, and then you've got existential stresses, like where do I fit in the world and life and everything like that. So all of these are happening all at the same time. So, in one way you look at it, the body has a burden of stress. So when you're putting all these together and you then add your thinking stress onto it, it all compounds. So the effect of thinking stress, for example, that gets you very, very anxious. So then that's going to have an impact on the blood flow to the front part of your brain where you do problem solving and decision making. That blood's going to be diverted down to your brainstem where you become reactive. And so that's going to show in your behavior out to the world.
Okay.
If you add on a lifestyle stress of eating a lot of processed foods, for example, drinking a lot of sodas, these sort of things, they're high in energy, very low in nutrition. So you get tired, you get blood sugar spikes, you end up putting on weight, but you eat them because they're quick and easy. And sometimes when we're under stress, we crave like sugary type foods, comfort foods. So stress then puts a different stress on.
So let us translate a little bit.
Yep.
Do you want to go first?
好，因為咧頭先一開始講咧就係我哋有好多，我諗我呢個都係我哋自己學識認識壓力同埋分門別類嘅方法啦。譬如生活上面 lifestyle 嘅壓力係可以係你食嘅嘢、你飲嘅嘢啦，然後或者你進行嘅活動啦，瞓唔瞓覺啦。咁其他就係可能你會比較正常啲發現嘅係工作嘅壓力啦、人際關係壓力啦，或者係一啲叫做存在。即人嘅價值啊、自身價值嘅壓力啦，即係我 fit in 唔到啊，我同所有人格格不入，同個世界唔夾啊咁，即係都有好多呢啲係我哋會發現嘅壓力嘅。咁但係呢啲全部都會構成係一個身體嘅壓力㗎啦。咁但係再加埋我哋多嘢諗啊、亂諗嘢嗰啲咧，咁即係再疊加，即係重疊上去啦。咁當一個咁焦慮嘅狀態，其實係影響我哋嘅血液嘅流動。咁但係個血液流動佢影響嘅，咁呢個真係好鬼物理㗎啦，即係身體物理、生物科嘅嘢啦，就係影響我哋呢度前面個嘅腦袋嘅血液嘅供應運作，但係佢係影響我哋做決定啊、判斷，所以啲人成日覺得迷茫啊，好唔知做緊乜啊，唔知想點，做錯決定，其實就係因為可能長期受壓，以至呢度都
血液供應不足，
係啊，即係 function 唔到咯。咁但係頭先阿 Brett 都有講，佢話我哋可能追求好多嘢就係快靚正，咁你會食嘅嘢可能唔好啊，即係食啲快餐啊，飲汽水、加工嘢、甜嘢咁樣。咁但係問題就係你個身體喺壓力底下咧，佢又會想要糖分嘅供應，即係可能你就更加會食衰嘢。其實我會嘅，我有發現㗎，我食啲好出奇地平時唔食嘅嘢咧，咁我知嗰期我嘅狀態根本就唔好啦，係好大反應。咁所以佢就話呢個就係再加上你本身受壓，你已經你再想食啲唔好嘅嘢，咁你再受壓，咁就好似永恆嘅循環。如果你唔發現要走翻出嚟的話，
佢啱啱仲有講多句咧，呢啲食物咧好多能量，簡單嚟講就係靠你啦，但係咧係好冇營養嘅。咁所以咧好多時啲人如果因為壓力啦而不停去食呢啲加工啊、甜嘅嘢啊、呢啲 comfort food 嘅時間啊，好容易就身體就會 pack 多幾磅上身咯。
Actually for me, I noticed that I usually do not like fast food. Even when I am small, I don't go to fast food shop because I just don't like the food there. But when I grow up, I will notice that some of the time I will just crave for those fried food and then soft drinks that I usually won't touch. I don't touch them not because they're unhealthy. It's just like I don't like them. But when I'm under stress, I'll go for like cheap and unhealthy food.
Yeah, because sometimes when you're under stress, your body's making stress hormones, and stress to the body basically says I have to run or I have to fight. So to go and get something sugary, that's instant energy for your body. So your body's sort of saying, here, get this, because we may need it.
To fight.
Yeah, or run.
So it's like instinctive problem from our DNA?
Yeah. It's an evolutionary problem from as we evolved. Stress, when we evolved, was a saber-toothed tiger that you had to run from. now a lot of it's just in our own mind.
咁啊，係咁阿 Brett 講啦，當我哋身體受壓力嘅時間啦，我哋身體係會製造壓力荷爾蒙嘅。咁啊，個壓力荷爾蒙其實就係協助俾我哋知道咧，哇！呢刻可能要突然間逃難咯，喂，可能有個山呢刻崩緊，我哋要走咯，或者喂唔係喎，前面有隻袋鼠去好兇狠，我哋我要同佢 fight 過，我先至可以。
你見到佢想話袋鼠啊？
離開安全呢度。咁佢係一隻好可愛嘅小袋鼠嚟嘅。跟住阿 Brett 就話，咁以前係真係我哋係需要有呢一個 stress response，即係呢個壓力回應，令到我哋可以繼續生存。但係佢有講嘅，而家呢一刻我哋好多人嗰啲壓力咧，全部係嚟自我哋呢度，我哋好多嘢都係自己喺思想層面係啦，已經想像咗好多咯，係啊。所以本身壓力反應佢係一個我叫人好原始嘅生存本能，但係我哋已經脫離咗要生存嗰個模式。So, Brett, I would like to ask you something, because just now you said, stress used to be when we were in the caveman, civilization, that era, it is actually going to help us to survive. But
Yeah, that's
right now, with so many people being in their mind, that means that they are constantly in survival, but they're no longer in survival.
Yeah, because it would be really good if we did have a separate stress system for emotional, mental, thought, and physical danger. But we don't, it all goes like fear of a tiger, right? Triggers the same thing as fear of losing your job, fear of losing your partner. It triggers exactly the same pathway. So the brain, the body reacts exactly the same way to emotional, mental stress that it does to actually a physical stress.
呢個我覺得好無辜。I feel so innocent and then helpless because it's instinctive, but we kind of, for this moment, I still don't know how to deal with it. I do the translation first.
OK。
咁Brett 就話咧，即係真係好可惜啊！我哋喺物理上對於壓力同埋即係我哋嘅情緒或者我哋嘅思考系統嘅壓力咧，我哋係唔識分嘅。即係例如，如果你真係見到隻老虎，你要逃跑，咁嗰個係 physical 壓力。咁如果我其實見唔到，咁不如我 run 另一個 program，即係另一種壓力就係叫做害怕失去工作或者害怕分手、害怕離婚咁樣類似咁啦。但係好可惜，我哋無論係 physical 即係身體上嘅壓力，定係情緒同埋即係一個 mental 即係思想上嘅壓力，其實我哋即係撈埋同一個pool 即係同一嚿嘢，咁所以無論點嘅 trigger 都係 trigger 翻同一卡嘢，咁所以我就同阿 Brett 講，咁好無辜喎，我都唔想。But I said I feel so innocent and helpless because we don't like struggle for survival. Not most of the time we do not struggle for this, but we still under some instinctive stress, like they work like this. Is there a way out?
Yeah, there's ways out. Because when this system was developed, we didn't really have much of a cortex, and so now we are very different to when our survival systems was developed. And so we're now dealing with a lot of more mental and emotional thoughts than when we just had survival, which was basically find some food and protect your loved ones.
Then, Brent, may I ask, what happens if a lot of people, they are in the survival mode? I've heard of this term for a very long time. It's called survival mechanism.
It can manifest differently in different people.
Can you give us some example, please?
Like for some people, it may take them into burnout. Burnout is basically the adrenal glands just pumping out too many stress hormones over a long period of time. For other people, it will age them quicker. It's because it's creating a lot of free radicals in the body. Muscle tension. The stress hormones will deplete you of magnesium and B vitamins and a few other things. So over time, you become deficient in essential nutrients because survival is number one. So your body has to use them to make the stress hormones before it will give them to you to allow you to think clearly. So when you're running low in nutrients, that's also a stress.
OK，呢一個物理嘅狀況就係頭先阿 Eve 就問，如果好多人跌咗入去一個叫做生存嘅機制，即係已經去咗嗰個純反應啦，但係未察覺，咁會點咧？即係身體上有咩展現咧？Burnout 我哋會點樣形容啊？即係呢個腎上腺素經常飆升嘅狀態。
Burnout 就係啲人已經係虛耗到無力㗎啦，即係我啲 client 會走嚟同我講，哇！我長期係唔夠能量，返工唔夠能量啦，醒咗嗰刻其實好似冇瞓過咁樣樣啦，甚至個精神係好難集中，嗰個身體基本上係所有能量燒晒咯。
都有呢啲，譬如咪成日講嗰啲咩亞健康病、長期疲累咧，都係可能係咁樣嘅元素啦。另一樣嘢就係嗰啲人會老得快啲啦，即係衰老啦，因為好多油膩機會係製造咗啦。跟住另外咧就係肌肉嘅繃緊，因為可能根本係營養上面有好多必須要有嘅，佢都唔會俾你愛嚟身體吸收或者修復或者做其他嘢啦，佢就會攞咗嚟製造。即係嘥料啊，攞嚟製造壓力荷爾蒙，因為製造咗壓力荷爾蒙，我就可以繼續 push 你個身體去俾反應做嘢，保持你求生本能咁所以就其他嘢完全做唔到。咁而家咁聽，你就會知道點解有好多疾病嘅起源，其實因為壓力，因為有壓力嘅時候，你身體淨係會覺得我要處理咗壓力造成嘅你求生嘅機制嘅嘢，我唔得閒同你搞其他嘢，就我唔得閒修復身體，我唔得閒俾你休息。我唔得閒俾你放鬆咯，咁所以好多嘅病其實佢冇一個指定嘅源頭，就係因為其實個源頭咪就係咁隱藏喺壓力當中咯。
因為好多時咧，我同阿 Brett 傾偈咧，即係點樣令到啲人唔好咁大壓力？即係喺 session 入邊咧，我都會問佢好多嘢嘅，因為佢好似個字典咁樣樣。我問佢所有啲關於身體啊、能量啊、chakra 啊，究竟啲人啲反應啊，我都可以問好多嘢嘅。佢有成日都會同我講，佢話香港其實啲人好唔夠鎂㗎 Magnesium 同埋好唔夠維他命 D。阿 Brett 係無限性咁同我講，佢話大家真係扯到乾晒，就係啱啱你講嗰個機制咯。So Brett, in our sessions, in our dialogues, you have always mentioned that people in Hong Kong are very low in magnesium and vitamin D. Can you explain a little bit more about that? How those two essential nutrients can help us to reduce our stress?
Oh, well, because when our bodies, like the cells, they're factories, right? And so the factories need supplies. If you've got all the supplies there, they'll work all day and they'll function all day for you. But if you're low in them, and they've still got to try to make something, they try to make it in a way from something that's not quite right. Or they can't make it. And then you have these problems. But like the magnesium is a essential nutrient for like hundreds of enzymes in the body. You need it for your muscles, you need it to make neurotransmitters and hormones. So it's a very important thing, but it's also there for the stress hormones. So cortisol, for example, it's used in the manufacture of that, and same with, say, B vitamins. So when the body's manufacturing that and it's running low, then it says, where do we get magnesium from? So the muscles have a lot of magnesium because that's how our muscles relax, with magnesium. So it says, let's take it out of the muscles and we'll give it back to the muscles when we get more. And so over time, stress just makes you tighter and tighter. Your muscles get tenser. And if you're having, like, the brain has certain pathways for things like fear and rage. And so when the emotions go through those pathways, they end up at a place called the periaqueductal gray matter. And there's 4 columns there, and depending which column it goes down depends to where that stress goes to you in your body. So if it's going to your trunk muscles, for example, and you're already low in magnesium, you're getting even tighter. Compression on your chest, all these things. If it's going to your jaw and face muscles, it's putting tension in there, making you look older quicker. These type of things, because it's got to go somewhere. And you get the correlation there because one of the places it can go to is to your organs. Right? And so with the Chinese saying of, burning liver fire. That's the rage system can go to the liver.
So just let me explain. I think you use a very good example. 啱啱啊 Brett 話你當個身體好似一個細胞工廠咁啦。咁啊，一間工廠如果要做任何嘅嘢，例如我哋要做能源，係啦，啲細胞要運作嘅，咁佢都要有原材料先得噶嘛。咁但係如果有足夠原材料，其實你個身體會行得好好嘅，係啦，你啲器官啊各樣嘢佢都會行得好好嘅。但係當唔夠嘅時間咧，佢哋會嘗試去做，夾硬做出嚟嘅，係啊，有時做到。但係有時咧係直情係做唔到嘅。咁啱啱我點解問 Magnesium 咧？因為阿 Brett 有講過好多次嘅就係咧 Magnesium 有好多功用嘅，即係包括我哋身體所有超過100個肌肉，我哋都需要 Magnesium 啦。我哋腦裡面 neurotransmitter， 即係我哋嗰啲腦細胞究竟溝唔溝通到啊？其實佢哋個 chemical process 都有係需要 Magnesium 啦。跟住我哋去個壓力荷爾蒙，即係 cortisol 都係需要 Magnesium 啦。咁啊，但係咧，我哋都 Magnesium 亦都可以幫我哋身體裏面生產維他命 B 嘅。咁但係當我身體缺啦，冇啦，咁做咩咧？我聽完之後就好戥我大家嘅身體，亦都戥我自己。
好辛苦，
係啊，好慘啊嘛！當你個身體唔夠 Magnesium，或者你成日都喺個哇，我要走爛咗個毛嘅時間啦，佢會喺你啲肌肉入邊攞走啲尾咯。
用住先啊嘛，諗住
係啊，諗住借錢，跟住就係佢個身體就諗住，咁有嗰陣咪還咯。咁但係當一個人長期喺生存模式嘅時間就係齋借咯。咁佢啱啱阿 Brett 就講緊啦，我哋啲肌肉就會 tighter，即係越嚟越緊，越嚟越緊。係啊，咁啊跟住就會好多即係啲肌肉啊，無論我哋面嘅肌肉啊，我哋身體唔同嘅肌肉啊，都會 compress。係啊，我哋個心可能會好容易揦住啊，跟住我哋又會容易去老啲啊。咁亦都阿 Brett 都有講嘅就係，其實都會影響我哋啲器官嘅。即係
睇下個路徑係點走咯。即係如果佢個路徑係走咗去你心口，可能成日覺得翳啊，呼吸唔到啊，條氣唔順啊。咁如果你走咗去嗰個肝就係肝火盛，即係中醫所講嗰種，即係鬱啊、肝鬱啊嗰啲嘢咯。So well after knowing all these, then we realize how our body works, and then we feel so sorry to our body because we have no idea how much they're doing for us.
Yes.
Yeah, exactly. They don't teach us anything about our body or our brain when we go to school.
So when it comes to kinesiology, you have spoken about kinesiology can support disarming the survival mechanisms. Let's say someone is in survival, they have been in a fear of running from something for like a decade, 10 years. So can kinesiology assist, and how does it work?
Well, with the kinesiology, we're using the muscle testing. The muscle testing is a way to access the subconscious mind. Right? So we've got conscious connections where we think about moving our arm and we can move it. But we also have subconscious connections, and there's more subconscious connections to the muscles than there is a conscious connection.
Wow. Okay.
We can use this mechanism of a way of finding things out from the body, finding out, okay, is this body actually in fight and flight? And if in clinic, if it is, we see that as like the priority thing to work on. The subconscious mind just wants to deal with the initial threat, right? Even if it's just a perceived one. But it wants to deal with that, and it's using resources that it could use for, other things like reproduction or healing to stay focused on dealing with a threat. So that to us is an important starting place to get people out of fight and flight. The muscle testing can tell us if they're in there or not in there.
好，咁啊頭先阿 Eve 就係問肌應治療點解會幫到啦？咁我哋固然自己經歷過，就即係可以更加具體分享呢一陣間。咁但係阿 Brett 就話嗰個原理就係因為當中會做一個叫做即肌肉嘅反應測試，因為肌肉嘅反應咧，佢係直接係反映緊一個潛意識世界我哋嘅狀態係點嘅。咁因為肌肉就唔會講大話，或者身體唔會講大話咧，應該咁講。咁所以佢會話俾佢聽，究竟會唔會呢個人根本存在係一個叫做 fight or flight，即係根本係戰鬥或者逃跑嘅反應，咁即係落咗去生存模式啦。咁因為對一個潛意識嘅 狀況嚟講，佢係要首先拎走咗一個最原始嘅威脅，就係令呢個身體知道其實唔係喺度，即係要戰鬥或逃跑，唔係喺呢個咁危險嘅狀態。咁所以第一個佢要係解除呢個最原始嘅威脅先，咁先可以將即係再幫呢一個人嘅身體去做其他嘅嘢咯。
因為啱啱阿 Brad 咧，佢最尾個 point 講咧，我覺得都幾緊要同大家去 mention 嘅。其實身體本身都會自己治癒嘅，即係自己識修復，係同埋我哋有啲嘢可以生翻嘅，係啊。但係當我哋個潛意識掛住喺度，哇！我喺度對抗嘅時間，佢哋唔會做到個身體嗰個修復㗎。咁所以點解有啲朋友仔話啊？點解有啲嘢唔舒服咗一排咯？點解我嗰個時間去 recover 要咁耐咧？咁我可以考慮下啊，究竟你個身體或者潛意識係咪用咗好多資源去打仗 ，instead of focus 翻係呢度依家唔係好夠力喎，呢度有啲傷口喎，佢唔係好舒服喎，我去做手修復先。So the first step is to differentiate if the person is in fight or flight. Then you know what would you do? You know when people come into a session.
Yeah, well then we're using the muscle testing again, but we have ways of communicating energetically with the body to find out what is that stress. Yeah. So by using that sort of energetic communication, we can touch certain points and it'll tell us, okay, which survival emotion is the one that's active for this person. So
and you can switch it off.
Is it fear? Is it rage? Is it like the seeking system, for example, where people are just overly trying to achieve things? Yeah. And so once it lets us know, then we can start, working, consciously with that client to see how do you think this fits into your life and what might you be doing towards it. And then we're also using the muscle testing at the same time to see when there's a subconscious stress that's triggered off by the conscious talking. And then we're sort of diffusing it through the energy field.
呢個係咪都要讓大家理解？其實即係肌應治療測試有佢好肉身嘅部分，但係佢都有佢喺能量層次嘅部分去幫助每一個個案可以即係做到個轉化。即係譬如頭先阿 Eve 就問你，即係當一個人係真係處於戰爭或逃跑反應呢個生存模式，咁點樣即係帶佢離開呢個狀況咧？咁因為就係話有一個叫做即係能量嘅溝通啦，喺呢個身體即係身體層次除咗肉體之外，咁首先要揾到究竟即係嗰個壓力來源或者嗰件事叫做乜嘢情緒，即係例如係恐懼啦，即係憤怒啦。定係或者根本個人覺得要求好高，都係要去實踐，根本就話即係不停追求緊一啲嘢，咁所以就 push 緊自己好辛苦啊咁。咁然後即係當察覺咗呢樣嘢之外，就要用一個肌肉嘅測試，去揾到究竟潛意識入邊喺呢個嘅底層仲有冇其他嘢係收埋咗，而係大家都唔知曉。因為呢個成個過程咧，同阿 Brad 或者同治療師有好多溝通嘅。咁個溝通係來自我意識知嘅嘢啫，即係可能我會諗到可能有單嘢咁啊，可能有件事棘住我，但我唔知咧就係喺潛意識，即係我自己唔知嘅部分就係靠我個身體。你唔該坦白啲，即係所以我成日瞓喺阿 Brad 面前嘅時候，我就會同個身體講，你有咩都同佢講，你有咩你直接俾佢知。I'm telling that when I like lie in the room and get ready for a session, I will tell my body to be very honest to you.Because my conscious mind only can tell whatever I can tell. But for things that I don't even know, then I will have to have my body to tell you through the muscle test.
Yeah, and that's the good part about it is the body will tell you something different usually to what the conscious mind is saying.
喺個治療過程入邊咧，我都可以分享下，有啲位置咧係其實嗰句説話係非常之輕頸，而阿 Brad 會問你點睇呢句説話，或者你個身體講嘅呢句説話，咁跟住我就會默默地有滴眼淚。其實我又唔係好多情緒，但係我就可能有滴眼淚咁流落嚟，跟住我就覺得喂，佢係咪講中咗？但係連我自己都唔知。I'm sharing with the audience that sometimes when you ask me like a specific sentence, a specific phrase that you tell me that my body is telling you about this, then I will like I feel like I have teardrops, but not strong emotion, not things that I can comprehend, I don't know why, but I just want to cry. And something is like leaving my body. And I can't explain.
Yeah, and for some people, it is like that. For other people, they're extremely connected to their emotions and they know exactly what's going on and why the tears are coming out. So everybody's a bit different. So whichever way you process it is okay.
阿 Brett 就話，即係有好多人，好似可能我咁啦，我唔知發生咩事，但係我就有嘢覺得離開咗一部分即係開咗一部分啦。有啲人就一講就知道發生咩事，咁可能佢有更加多嘅情緒要表達，咁佢就話人人都唔一樣，所以唔需要以唔使以任何人為指標啦，大家經歷都唔同。
So, Brent, I would like you to, because we are getting towards the end of the interview, I would like you to share, with a lot of the audience. So what happens, when there is no stress? How would a person feel? To give them something to look into. Everybody's going through stress right now in Hong Kong. So once they de-stress, like what happens?
Well, let me try and put it. Say if you're dealing with mental emotional stress, which a lot of people are. It's a bit like your computer and the amount of bandwidth you can get. So
bandwidth.
You're constantly stressing time over and time over, but you're not resolving anything. Then you're just using your bandwidth more and more and more. And you may get to a point where you have no bandwidth left and you start having headaches or anxiety, depression, whatever it is, but you've never really resolved things as you've gone through life. So in a way, by coming and sort of de-stressing, you're getting rid of some of that stuff which is giving you more bandwidth, or you're getting that bandwidth back. And so the more that you resolve and find peace around in your life, the more bandwidth you have. And then when different stresses happen, you have the bandwidth to deal with them, rather than you're up close to the edge and then you're just reactive all the time because you don't have any bandwidth left to deal with those mental emotional stresses. So in a way similar, like if you do meditation, just trying to give yourself some time to not put anything stressful in your mind, But as humans, we tend to, when we're not doing anything, we tend to focus on something that worries us. Some people get really worked up about what am I going to have for dinner.
So you had me at bandwidth, okay? You got me there. Because bandwidth is one of the most important word in Hong Kong. So.
Oh yeah, it's important to function, and finding ways to resolve it is important.
I'm gonna translate a little bit of what you just said. 咁啊 Brad 話其實而家大部分我哋好少生存，冇即係真係除咗你住野外之外，可能住日本或者見到隻熊之外，我哋係冇乜一啲大自然，除咗一啲其實天災人禍其實亦都好少噶啦。所以好多生存嘅壓力其實係唔存在嘅，但係大部分人而家經歷緊嘅就係一啲思想啦、情緒上嘅壓力啦。咁佢啱啱講咗一樣嘢就係講 bandwidth， 即係大家都經歷過個 WiFi 升級嘅年代，又當係14 kbs 去到跟住28，跟住我哋後尾去到128、516，哇！而家係上緊光纖 map， 即係1000 map 入屋，即係個 bandwidth 係闊咗好多嘅。咁電腦有 bandwidth， 人都有 bandwidth。咁咧，但係如果隨住我哋啲壓力咧增加啦，即係疊加啦，細個可能有啲創傷啊，跟住某年某月咪有啲經歷啊嚇親啊，跟住再加埋就係我哋長期喺生存模式，1年2年之後去到10幾年都喺嗰個模式入邊啊。咁阿 Brett 就講，當我哋如果冇解決過、冇釋放過，甚至 resolve 過咧，我哋嗰個內裏嗰個 bandwidth 啊，我哋就會變得越嚟越少啦。咁所以引致嘅可能會係一啲焦慮啊，或者會抑鬱啊。咁所以阿 Brett 啱啱都講嘅就係透過肌應治療啦，我哋去減輕啲壓力啦。咁啊，其實係俾翻一啲 bandwidth 一啲容量我哋，當生命再有嘢發生嘅時間，我哋會有容量去面對啦。咁就係 instead of 有嘢發生，哇好觸動到我喎，我要即刻做反應，或者有好多好多嘅情緒唔知點算，我哋會有容量知道點樣去做決定啦。 咁啊，佢亦都有講嘅就係當我哋釋放更加多嘅時間，我哋個人會平安啲啦、自在啲啦，聽落都開心啦。咁啊，所以阿 Brett 有講嘅就係其實打坐靜心，其實就係揾個空間，唔好擺一啲好有壓力嘅嘢入我哋個 mind 度。係啊。So I love what you said about meditation is to not put stressful things in the mind.
Yeah. So when you have a bit of the understanding of how things work, you can probably more chance of you actually doing them.
And can I share a little bit of my experience working with kinesiology with Brett for so many years？ 因為同阿 Brett 相處咗我 as 佢嘅 client 都我諗有6年啦，係啊。咁我開頭係每個月去見佢一次，而家係 as long as 總之我喺香港，佢得閒我得閒，我就會 book 個 session。跟住有啲人都會問嘅就係咁我去咗幾次，係咪真係可以處理到晒？啲人成日都會問我要去幾多次，或者我要去做呢樣嘢做幾耐？我覺得係好睇你同壓力個關係嘅，即係好似我咁，我每日都有好多新嘅壓力會出現，係啊，我好需要，我會覺得我好密，我需要多啲嘅 support 去協助我保持個平衡，去協助我去 stay at peace 嘅。咁所以呢一個係一個，我覺得減壓或者去協助個身體去放鬆翻、釋放翻，係一個旅程。係啊，instead of focus，啲好多人都會問次數係點樣樣，我會 focus 呢個係個 journey 嚟嘅。as long as 有肉身，as long as 你可能做嘅工作係時間好長啊，或者你生命裏面好多嘢發生嘅時間，有壓力係好正常嘅。麻利咧？
我都係覺得，因為人生唔同階段，尤其是你如果即係談論叫做療愈啦，或者照顧自己嘅身體啦，你冇可能覺得有啲嘢係做一次就唔使做，因為如果你做一次唔使做，其實你一出世嗰日食一餐之後就其實唔使每日食嘢噶嘛。咁所以冇一個咁嘅事件啦，而且仲有好多嘢係透過人生嘅經歷，你會再次勾起啦，即係甚至喺一個經驗治療測試入邊，有時有啲嘢揾到嘅嗰種，即係鎖咗喺個細胞身體嘅嘢，未必真係來自你而家呢一個嘅經歷，佢會再有一啲再耐歷史啲啊，或者來自你家族啊，有好多嘢係你都需要去知，同埋你都碰巧有一個覺知或者一個機會由宇宙交俾你去處理嘅。咁所以既然係咁嘅話，就唔好問幾時完，即係亦都唔需要知咩叫幾時完，而係你喺呢個旅程度，旅程就係會 ongoing，就係咁簡單咯。We're talking about like we don't need to know how many times do we get to the final answer or the full stop or all that, because healing is a journey. Like sometimes we will find out things that it's not present life, even if it's not from present life, is from DNA, from our cell memories and all that. So it's a journey. Once we start, we just need to know that we have to be responsible to our body and our own journey.
Yeah, and I think, especially I think some of your viewers and that will understand like energy, energy frequency. So if we're sort of trapped in survival emotions, so let's say fear and anger. So then we're putting out a frequency of fear. So we're going to attract circumstances that create fear and anxiety for us. If we've got a frequency of anger and rage, we're going to attract circumstances that create anger, rage reactions. But as you sort of work on yourself, and working on yourself is a journey, right? That you continue. So as you find more and more peace and calm and less anger and rage, the frequency you're putting out there is peace, calm, joy. So what do you start getting back? Peace, calm, joy. On a frequency level, once you really get to it and you understand that, you can really motivate yourself to say, if I want to manifest this in my life and have more of this, I really have to be this.
I think this is the answer to most of people who is looking for healing in their life。我覺得好多人咧，真係會覺得學身心靈嘅或者做療愈，其實佢哋會誤會咗係揾一個叫句號或者完結嘅章節。但係其實阿 Brett 而家就講緊一個正確嘅，即係對待咩叫療愈嘅態度係，你要明白，即係生命就係我哋世界上宇宙好多嘢都係能量同埋頻率。咁如果你長期困咗喺一個即係恐懼、擔憂嘅頻率，咁你只會 再次經歷恐懼擔憂，咁你不停就喺度啦。咁但係如果你係一個我當你解決咗一啲壓力，了解咗自己一啲東西，然後你去做一個更加平和即係比較平靜、舒適、有空間嘅地方啦，咁你散發出嚟嘅頻率就係呢一種平和好安寧嘅頻率啦，咁你自然引翻嚟嘅生活嘅經歷都係咁樣。咁所以唔係話追求榮華富貴定係幸福快樂，唔使講到咁多啦。咁總之原來你要過一個平靜嘅日子，咁你自己都要散發咗呢一種嘅energy，呢種能量啦。咁所以講緊療癒，佢唔係追求一個 file 要好乾淨，即係我成日覺得啲人做療癒可能就係追求個 file 要乾淨，即係清晒啲嘢嘛。但係其實唔係咁樣理解咯，佢只不過係讓你過一個更加有空間嘅舒適嘅人生。咁所以呢一個係唔需要追求一個叫做清晒所有嘢就唔使做啦，咁係冇呢件事啊。
如果清晒花，可能就唔使個肉身噶啦。咁最尾咧，如果大家觀眾想知去邊度揾阿 Brad 啦，咁我就會 show 翻啦。咁阿 Brad 咧，其實喺亞洲咧，佢係屬於一個好頂尖喺肌應治療，亦都好 senior，因為其實佢有超過20年嘅經驗嘅。咁呢個係阿 Brad 間公司個肌應治療嘅亞洲呢間公司啦，其實係有中文噶。咁所以有啲朋友仔如果對肌應治療有興趣咧，其實可以上翻呢個 website。係啊，佢哋嗰邊亦都有一啲中文嘅治療師嘅。係啊，咁當然我同阿麻利 work 咗阿 Brad 好耐咁啊，佢係我哋嘅主要嘅治療師啦。咁所以如果大家有興趣，咁可以上 Kinesiology.com 咁就可以揾到阿 Brad 噶啦。So we just share a website with people, who are ready to embark on the journey of de-stressing, of working on themselves so they can have more peace and have more joy, and be more free actually in their lives. So today, thank you, Brad. Thank you. Thank you for being our guest.
Thank you.
So I think we have only touched on, the tip of the iceberg of stress today. 今日係開始咗咁少嘅咋，咁希望我哋下次有機會再請阿 Brad 翻嚟同我哋分享多啲佢咁多年喺肌應治療嘅經驗，係啊，點樣去 support 自己 support 得好啲。Thank you, Brad. Thank you for today.
My pleasure. Thank you for having me.
Bye bye.